Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Spiritual Transformer. So, today I guess I want to talk about billionaires, or in Elon Musk's case, trillionaire. So, okay, this is old news, but I just found out that in around 2025, I think it was March 2025, Elon Musk said in an interview, said something like, empathy is a weakness for the Western civilization, something like that. The emphasis being on empathy is a weakness. And recently, Jeff Bezos was, I think it was doing a tour trying to convince the American public not to start some kind of billionaire tax. And he was quoted as saying something like, you can double my taxes, but it won't make an ounce of difference to that school teacher in Queens. And that was pretty heartless too. So we've got billionaires saying these weird things that can be construed as heartless and monstrous even. And I think a lot of people, if they hear Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos say these things about how empathy is a weakness, then they may be considered monsters. And I'm sure a lot of people do feel that way. I actually don't. I don't think that when billionaires and trillionaires say these things, they are necessarily monsters. In fact, I think they say these things because they are human, specifically not monsters. And why? Well, because I think that a real monster won't bother justifying themselves. A real monster won't go on an interview trying to say things that sound monstrous. A real monster would just go on drinking the blood of infants and not having to say or justify anything about it. That's a true monster to me. Someone who just does something bad and never really thinks about it. The fact that guys like Elon and Bezos is coming out and saying certain things, trying to defend themselves, I think that makes them more humans than monsters. I know that might sound a little weird, but okay. It's really a defense mechanism, right? It's fairly obvious that when Elon Musk says empathy is a weakness, he's basically defending his own lack of empathy, right? I'm not. He's Elon Musk is not known as an altruist. He just does whatever he wants and screw the people he ran over, so to speak, right? And he's justifying that because to not justify it will literally destroy them. I mean, you don't need people with pitchforks coming after billionaires for them to just destroy themselves by having to acknowledge that they have feelings. I mean, they come out here and say empathy is a weakness, that, doubling my taxes won't make any difference. They do that because they have to. They have to defend their actions. And if they don't, they are going to go get screwed so hard it's not even funny. Like, imagine, okay, there's a saying that I saw on, like, Facebook, I think. I don't know who the quote is from, I don't know who it attributes to, but it says that in a world where there are starving children, having a trillionaire makes no sense. Now, you and me, we know what that phrase means. But I suspect some of the billionaires don't. They have no idea what it means. Or at least they pretend to. I mean, it's like, what does trillionaires have anything to do with starving children? I mean, that's how disconnected they are. I'm willing to bet that's what they might think. Because to think otherwise would, like, disintegrate the whole personality. It's like if you build your whole identity on being a billionaire or a trillionaire, and all of a sudden you're confronted with, well, the costs of being a billionaire or a trillionaire, not cost to yourself, but the cost to the world, then your psyche is going to collapse. It's kind of like if you learn a lot from spirituality, eventually you'll come across something called a life review. And you know how that saying goes that, when you're about to die, it feels like my life flashed before my eyes? Well, it's kind of like that. Life review is a person going through a review of their life, but not from their point of view, but from the point of view of the people they've affected. So if you've been sending out love, if you've been loving, compassionate, empathic, then on your life review, you will see the effect of those things. But if you've been generally a jerk, right, an asshole, then you will feel the benefit. You will feel the consequences of that from the perspective of the people you've been a jerk to. And I imagine that for guys like Bezos and Musk, having to think about stuff like that is probably the cause of nightmares. I mean, just how many people could they have helped if they just tried? Like a lot, right? And how many things have they done that they know they could do better? Not for themselves, mind you, not for their own wealth, but for others. Probably a lot. So I have a feeling if they ever come face to face with the consequences of what they didn't do, the altruism or the empathy that they did not give out, their personality, their psyche is just gonna die, right? And now before anybody says, well, guys like these, they don't really have feelings, right? I kind of disagree. I can't really prove it in the case of Bezos, but I can actually prove that Elon Musk has feelings. Now, did anybody remember that episode? I think it was in late 2024, maybe early 2025, where Elon Musk was caught cheating in video games, of all things. He was caught cheating with Diablo 4 and Path of Exile 2. Caught. Undeniable, right? And then there was an incident where he was doing I think a live stream from his private jet. He was doing a live stream from his private jet because he wanted to show off his Starlink satellite internet, how well it works, from way up in the sky. And this was around the time that he was found out to have been cheating in video games. So he got raked over the coals during that live stream, right? He got bashed. I mean, I wasn't there personally, but reading articles about it, people were just making fun of him left and right for being a cheater on a video game, right? And all the while, this guy was trying to just trying to show off his product, and Elon Musk rage quit. He rage quit. He just shuts off the stream, and afterwards he blames spotty connection, disconnection, technical issues. That's not something you blame when the whole purpose of going on the stream in the first place is to show off your own internet connection that is supposed to be reliable, right? Now, my point here is that Elon, in order to rage quit, you have to have feelings, because people don't rage quit unless their feelings get hurt, and people's feelings don't get hurt unless they have feelings in the first place. So Elon Musk has feelings. He is human. I'm willing to bet on it. Right? Yeah. And I think that if Elon Musk ever truly thinks about all the stuff that he did or didn't do in terms of, I guess, his contribution to the world, he might crack. So that's why trillionaires and billionaires have to say weird things like empathy is a weakness, because that's what they believe. That's their shield. That's their shield from themselves. Now, I can actually pinpoint something right now as to almost the exact moment when somebody starts disconnecting from the world, from reality. So there's a guy named Stephen Bartlett, and I know a lot of you might know that Stephen Bartlett is the person who runs the Diary of a CEO podcast. Now, I like to look at his stuff once in a while, and I find that his content is great. But he's gotten big enough that he's getting a lot of criticism. And that's just how it is when you get big. And one of his criticisms against him is that he never pushes back. Like, his interviewees could be saying the most outrageous thing, the most craziest thing, the most like, it's like they're shilling for themselves or for the product. And Stephen Bartlett, as the interviewer, as the host, doesn't push back. That's one of the criticisms against Stephen Bartlett. And I disagree on that a little bit, because he does push back. And I notice, at least in a couple of videos, the instances where he does push back on things that the interviewee is saying is when the interviewee is saying things that conflicts with Stephen Bartlett's worldview. And one of the best example of this is his interview with Karen Howe. Karen Howe is a critic of AI. Like, I read her book. It's quite critical of AI. She talks about how AI, specifically data centers, drive up electricity costs, waste water, bad for the environment, nasty for the people who have to live around them. This is common knowledge now. But she also talks about, like, data annotation firms, the people that the data AI annotation firms they hire to train their AI. And the way they train their AI is to, like, the actual humans have to look at all these, like, violent or inappropriate videos, and they have to train their AI so that the AI can learn how to flag them and, not use them as part of their output, right? Like, this is mentally taxing stuff. So Karen Howe goes into all of that, all the criticisms against AI. And Stephen Bartlett, he pushed back hard. He pushed back like crazy hard, so hard that he took a phone call in the middle of an interview. That's unheard of. Nobody takes a phone call in the middle of the interview. He takes a phone call from a buddy of his who happens to be a CEO. I forgot the company. He's CEO of a company who is making the switch to use AI as part of their business. And he actually took a call from the CEO and asked the CEO some questions, all while Karen Howe is just sitting there listening. I found that to be extremely disrespectful to the guest, but that's how Stephen Bartlett pushes back. And he pushes back because he's a great lover of AI. You can tell from his interview he's defending AI. He uses AI. He uses it for his company, for his personal use, company use, and he loves it. He loves AI. So when Karen Howe comes in and says, Stephen, like, AI is great and all, but there's this consequence and this consequence and this consequence to ordinary people when AI is in use, right? And you can kind of tell that Bartlett didn't want anything to do with it. And you can tell right then and there, that's the start of the disconnection. Like, you're telling me something I don't really want to know. Like, I'm a wealthy guy and, I'm using AI to, like, make more money for myself. And you're telling me that it's hurting all these people when I use AI? Well, I don't want nothing to do with it. It's freaking crazy. There was a recent interview that I saw recently, and I think it was with a guy named Jeremy Grantham. You know what? Let me double check that. I usually don't do this, but yeah, Jeremy Grantham. So he had an interview with Jeremy Grantham, and Jeremy Grantham is a billionaire investor. I think he has his own investment company, and he takes money from people and he invests them on their behalf as a hedge fund, I guess. Right? And this guy's like 80-something years old, and I have the feeling he wants to give back to the world, and that's kind of why he's doing this interview. And Jeremy was saying how he doesn't recommend living in the United States. So Stephen asked him, well, why? So Jeremy says he wants to live in countries that have a greater emphasis on social contracts. And Stephen Bartlett is like, okay, so the U.S. doesn't have a very high social contract from Jeremy's perspective. But Steven's like, so what's the big deal? What's the downstream impact of that? So what, right? And Jeremy's like, well, I notice in the United States, people always look out for themselves. They look out for their families, but they don't really look out for their neighbors. And Stephen Bartlett's like, well, I don't talk to my neighbors. That's like his exact words, I think. Well, I don't talk to my neighbors, right? And Jeremy, the guest, he was speechless for a moment. And then he replied, well, that's a really lonely way to live. And that makes so much sense to me. But Stephen Bartlett just, when he's talking about the neighbors, he's just like, well, I don't talk to my neighbors, right? Now, in his defense, I don't know if he is saying that he doesn't talk to his neighbors because it's true that Stephen Bartlett himself doesn't talk to his neighbors, or he's just saying rhetorically. But either way, you can see the disconnect there. It's like, okay, well, I'm a wealthy guy. I work hard. Of course, I look out for myself and my family. And my neighbors, well, I don't talk to my neighbors. So you can see the disconnect right there. It's like, yeah, there's me, there's my stuff, and then there's other people and other people's stuff. And I don't know, man. I guess to me that's just like there's a sharp line. Like, one minute he's involved, I guess, and the next minute he's just like, well, I got nothing to do with my neighbors, right? So it's like the disconnect is right there. It's like, why should I care about my neighbors? It's almost like Elon Musk saying empathy is a weakness. It's almost like the same thing from a different spectrum, and that's kind of the gist. Like, that's where it starts. I mean, Stephen Bartlett is not on the wealth level of a Bezos or a Musk, but he's a wealthy guy. And you can already see the disconnect from him and like the world, the society, right? It's almost like he's entering his own bubble. And I think guys like Musk and Bezos, they've entered their own bubble a long time ago. And that's why, they have no time for empathy. They think it's a weakness because they themselves have to build up that wall. Otherwise, they'll collapse if they ever realize the kind of things they could be doing to make the world better, but aren't. Anyway, that's really all I got today. This video is running a little too long, so that's it for me. And if you like this content, smash that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already subscribed, and I will see you next time. Peace.